Hi guys, welcome back to Choma Stitches. My name is Choma. Today we are going to be learning how to sew this beautiful kimono gown with bell sleeves. And I want to welcome all the old subscribers and the new subscribers alike. Thank you guys for sticking around with me. And if you're joining us for the first time, you are welcome, welcome, welcome. Keep watching and don't forget to subscribe. And so guys, to make this kimono, the length of the kimono dress is going to be 37 inches. And as you can see, I've marked out the full length right here. And this dress is not going to be having a dart. From shoulder to the bust point is going to be 9.5, and from there to the waistline we're going to be using 16 inches, and then from the shoulder to the hip we're going to be marking our 26 inches and 25 inches. I don't like the hip line to be pointed, so I usually use the two numbers that are closest, and then you make a curve that is not pointy. I don't know if you understand what I mean. Okay, now we're going to be inputting our measurements. First, let's rule out our basic measurements. My shoulder measurement is 7.5 inches. So I'm going to mark out 7.5 inches. Come down from here by 1 inch for the shoulder slanting. And then from there, you're going to come down by bust 35 divided by 6 plus 1.5 will give me 7.3. I'm going to come here and mark 7.3 from the shoulder slanting. I'll come here and I'll mark down the 7.5 inches for the shoulder as well, and connect these two lines. I'm going to divide the armhole into two, get the midpoint, come in by half of an inch, rule it to the shoulder slanting, and then connect it with my armhole curve. And then for my neckline, I'm going to be using 3 inches. And for the back, I'm just going to use half of an inch. This is going to be the back, please note that. So now I'm slanting the shoulder. Okay, from here we're going to impute the bust measurements. Bust 35 divided by 4 is 8.75. So you have 8.75 here. Waist 29 divided by 4 is going to be 7.25. Then hip 42 divided by 4 will be 10.5. So I'm going to rule out this initial measurement first, and then I'll start adding my allowance. So the same 10.5 I have here, I'm going to bring it to the down part. So now I'm going to be adding my sewing allowance. I'm adding a sewing allowance of 1 inch around the bust area. And then for the waistline, I am going to be adding the sewing allowance of 1.8 inches or 1.5, because we're going to sew it with 1 inch, and the other half of an inch will be the ease. Okay. For the hip, now I want the hip part to be a bit free. I'm going to add 1.5 inch as well, but we'll be sewing it with 1 inch. I'll also add the seam allowance to the armhole. I'm just going to add half of an inch or 1/4 of an inch around the armhole. And then I'll add half of an inch as well to the shoulder for the shoulder sewing allowance. And you can also add 1/4 of an inch, that's 1/4 of an inch to the neckline. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out this part. And now for the front piece, I'm going to use the back piece as my pattern and cut out exactly the same thing before I alter the front piece. And so from here, now let's alter the part we're going to be using as the front part. So now that I have the two of them as identical, I can choose this upper one to be the front now and use the one at the under as the back piece. Now to alter the front piece, we're going to be cutting open the front from here to down, and we're going to be adding a stole to it. We're going to be adding another fabric to it to give us our open kimono effect, and there's going to be press buttons on it as well. So what I'm going to do now is come down for the neckline. From here I'm going to come down to, it depends on how deep and how open you want it to be. However open you want yours to be, that is how you're going to go down to. Okay, so I can mark out 7 inches here. And so I cut this dress intentionally without a dart allowance, because we're not going to be putting a dart. That is why the waistline has some free effect. So we're going to be adding a rope to it. That rope is what is going to give us a waist cinching that is also going to help the bust area be free, okay, because the waist is not tightened by sewing. It's going to be tightened by the rope we're going to be adding to it at the waistline, okay. I'm going to cut out the fabric we're going to use for the neckline. Now at this point, you already know that what you have here is your exact measurement. So if you are adding any fabric to the front, you're going to automatically assume that half of an inch from here is going to be used to attach that one. In other words, you've already lost half of an inch from here. Okay, so if you're adding a fabric that's supposed to be 1 inch, and maybe 1 inch is going to overlap each other, you're also going to add half of an inch to it. That half of an inch will be for joining allowance, okay. So I'm going to cut out those pieces yet. Now we're going to be drafting the V-shaped bell sleeve we're going to be using for this dress. You will also be seeing a different fabric in this video because I use this pattern for 2 different dresses. So you're going to be seeing the first pattern, and I will be leaving the link in the description box so you can check out the full sewing tutorial as well. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe. Also give this video a thumbs up. Let's get started. First, we're going to be drafting the basic sleeve, and then we can alter our basic sleeve to a bell sleeve. The full length of the sleeve we're going to be working with is 23 inches. So I'm going to mark out 23 inches. Next, we're going to backing out the box of the sleeve we are going to be working with. To get the box of the sleeve we are going to be working with, where we'll be drafting our basic sleeve, we're going to be dividing the bust measurement by 6 and adding 1.5 inches to it. So bust 35 divided by 6 will give us 5.833 plus 1.5 is going to give us 7.3. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out 7.3 like so, and I'll roll it to the end. Now we're going to be creating the armhole box, and to get that you divide your bust measurement by 12, and for 35 inches divided by 12 you get 2.9, but I'm going to be working with 3 inches approximately. And now I'm going to be marking out a slanted line away from this end to the other end of this marking, and I'm going to find the center of this marking. So what I have here is 8 inches, so the center obviously is here. And so I'm going to go up here by 0.25 and come down by 0.25. You can take your tape and measure this to be sure you are marking it out right. Now to indicate what part of the pattern is going to be for the front part of the sleeve, and the part that's going to be the back part of the sleeve, I'm going to be using 2 different markers to distinguish it. So for the upper part of the sleeve, that is going to be the back part of the sleeve, I'm going to be using my blue marker, and I'm going to connect this line to the top of the marking, and then I'm going to come here and I'll bring it down to this end. And then for the front part of the sleeve, I'm going to be using my red marker, and I'm going to be marking it from the 0.25 I marked under. So I'm going to connect it as well to the end of the sleeve, like so. And then I'm going to mark it down to the end of the sleeve this way. So right now we have this place to be the front part of the sleeve, and this side is going to be the back part of the sleeve. I hope that is clear. So from here I am going to go ahead and input my measurement. Now first I can mark out my shoulder to my elbow measurement, which is 12 inches. I can also indicate the shoulder to my bicep. I'm using 7 inches, and you can also come here and mark out maybe an 8 inches. Now these markings I'm making is for if you want to draft a basic sleeve, okay. Like I said, we're going to draft a basic sleeve, and then we're going to alter it to get our bell sleeve. Now if this was going to be a basic sleeve, like I said, now you're going to be inputting all your measurements: your elbow divided by 2, your bicep divided by 2, and your cuff area divided by 2. That's where you input it. But what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to come down here and mark 6 inches. Like I said, what we are drafting is a bell sleeve, and from this 6 inches I'm just going to connect it all the way to the armhole. Now this is the sleeve I'm working with, okay. I can go ahead and cut out this, but before I cut it out, I'm going to be dividing this pattern into 3, and I'm going to divide this into 3 so that I can do the slash and spread method for our bell sleeve, okay. So I'm going to measure what I have here. This is 6, so So I'm going to divide it into 3. I have 2 and 2. So I'm dividing it into 2 on each side. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll this line straight all the way. Now as you can see, I roll this to the back part of the sleeve. Okay, I roll it to the back part of the sleeve. Because the sleeve is not going to be fitted, you may not need to differentiate which part of it will be front or back. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the pattern so that we can do our slash and spread. So I'm going to be cutting here open, but I'm going to cut it on top of the fabric we're going to be using. So let me bring out the print we're going to be using for this. Now whenever you want to make a flare, cutting a flare can consume a lot of fabric. So if you want to manage your fabric, this is one method you can use. I'm just going to be holding it on this side and I'm going to pull it all the way to match the selvage on this side. Now this method is going to help me manage my fabric, and I won't be using as many fabric as I would have been using if I don't use this method. Okay. So now that I've folded it this way, I can go ahead and refold it again like so, matching here to this end. So this is it. So what I'm going to do now is bring my sleeve and place it here like so, and then we are going to start cutting and spreading it. So I'm going to cut it open on the 2 lines I have made in the center. Now I've pinned down the first one. I am just going to open up this one. You can open this as wide as your fabric can take. So this is it. So at this point, my belt sleeve, if you want your belt sleeve to be, if you want the sleeve to be equal from one end to the other, this is where you come and you connect this like so to give you an equal marking. Okay, so that the sleeve will be equal. But I want this place to be more pointy. I want here to be obviously pointier, like more obvious that it is longer than this side. Okay, and so for that, what I'm going to do is mark out my allowance. So from here, the allowance I have is about 1 inch. I'm going to come here and mark out 1 inch. Now this is to guide me so that the pattern will still be straight. Now I'm going to connect this sewing allowance first, and then I'm going to roll it straight to wherever the fabric ends. And then from there, I am going to start curving it like so to come and meet here. You can use your straight ruler all the way down. Now this is it. So when I cut out this now, this place is going to be obviously longer than here. Also, don't forget to add your ½ inch allowance at the edge here, where you're going to be joining this sleeve to the dress that we're joining it to. This is our sleeve. Now if your sleeve is like this and you don't want it to have a pointy part like this, you can also eliminate it. Okay, this plate doesn't have to be pointed. You can just come up by ½ inch and then, or 1 inch, come up by 1 inch here, and then eliminate the effect that makes it pointy. And when looking at this, you already know that the sewing allowance from this armhole is 1 inch. So you can go ahead and hem your sleeve at the end so that you can attach it carefully to the body. So this is the rope we're going to be using to tie the dress at the back. It's going to start from the waistline, obviously. Okay, and then this is the pocket. Of course, you're cutting 2 of the rope as well. Okay, the rope can be as long as you want. I think this is about 38 inches long, so you can use up to that or more than that, whatever you want. Okay, and you can make your rope bold if you like to use it to create some kind of bow at the back. That can work too. And then this is the pocket that's going to be in the front. Okay, I cut 2 pieces of each because I'm going to be cutting a lining. I'm going to be cutting lining exactly like this to use it to turn it inside out. Okay, so now I'm going to be folding this to give my pocket a design. Now looking at it now, I'm thinking this 11 inches I marked out to be too long, so I'm going to be reducing the length of the pocket, okay, to say here. All right, I'm going to come up by 1 inch here, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it a curve on the side. This is optional, you can make yours straight as well, okay, very optional. So I have this to be 9.5 inches by 10 inches. I'm going to be cutting the exact same length as well for lining. I'm going to use it to sew all around it to keep it clean, to keep the edges clean before we attach it to the body. And those are the first things we are going to do. Then I have this one as well. This is going to be like a top pocket illusion. There will be no pocket in it, but we're just going to go ahead and fold it in half like so. And I'm going to go ahead and sew the sides and turn it inside out because we're going to use it to create a false pocket at the breast. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and sew this side, prepare the rope I'm using to sew it, and then hem the edges of the sleeve. Then we'll start attaching them to the main bodies. Okay, this is the pocket and I cut out a lining for it, so I'm going ahead to sew it all around, leaving an opening where I'm going to turn it inside out and iron it. So this is the false pocket as well. I have also sewn the sides, leaving an opening as well where I'm going to turn it inside out. And this is the part we're going to be attaching to the front. I have also joined it here and I ironed it, like I folded it in two and ironed it so that it will be easier for us to join it. And this is the rope. So I decided to go with this particular fabric for the rope, for the belt part, so that it will blend with the main fabric, because this is the fabric we use for the main fabric and for the main dress, and then we use this one to design it. Okay, so if you use this one as the belt, it's going to be fine, but it will be obvious. Okay, so this one, if you use this one as the belt, when you tie it to the back from the front, people will not know there is a belt holding it at the back because the fabric will blend naturally. Okay, so I have sewn the belt, and I'm going to, I have a safety pin attached inside when I was sewing it, so I'm going to go ahead and pass it through the safety pin, and then I'm going to iron all of them before we start attaching it to the kimono. Using a loop turner, I'm going to pass it inside. So I'm going to go ahead and iron all of them before we attach it to the main bodies. And so here, this is the pocket, ironed, and look at how clean it looks. And this is the belt. This place is concealed, and this one is going to be inside, obviously, so you will not see it. And then this is the false pocket. And then also I went ahead to hem the sleeve. I've hemmed the sleeve and I've ironed it. So let's go ahead and attach this to the main bodies. So I'm going to come down to say 20 inches or 19 inches, and that's where I'm going to start placing this pocket. Okay, this is as 20 inches, and also I'm going to be leaving the sewing allowance, so this pocket is going to be away from the seam allowance, so that there will be space for the seam allowance, and then it's gonna be closer to this part. Also note that we're going to be attaching something. We need half an inch to sew here, so don't go and cover it. And then as for the false pocket, from this same shoulder, we're going to come down to say 9 inches to place it, or 10 inches. So you can start wherever you feel you want it to be, so you can use. So this 9.5 inches or 10 inches will be the bust point. Okay, it will be at the bust point, so you find the middle, the center, and so if the bust point for me is 4 inches, is 8, so this is where it's going to start. I'm going to make sure it is at the middle here. it starts at the middle like so. So I'm going to go ahead and pin it here, and I'm going to be sewing it very close. When I'm done sewing it, I will flip it the other way and top stitch it again. Okay, that's for this pocket. And then for the band to attach the rope, the part where the seam allowance is, this is where you are placing on top like so. So right side facing right side, and you will now decide where you want. You go to the curviest part of your waist. Okay, the curved part of your waistline, that is where you place it. And for me, this is around between 14 and 16 inches, so that's where I'm going to place it. So I'm going to start from 14.5 inches. So I'm going to pin it down, and I'm going ahead and sew. Now this thing I've done here, the way I placed it here, I'm going to replicate the same thing on the other side of the dress. And so I've gone ahead to sew them. I've sewn them and top stitch. Okay, now look at this this one. I'm trying to show us something. This false pocket on this side, as you can see, I sewed it once and then I folded it down this way and top stitch on it. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. This one, look at this one, I've sewn it once and look at how it's standing up. Now you're now going to bring it down and top stitch on it very close to where you sewed it to keep it laying flat. And of course you are going to iron, but now I'm going to go ahead and join the back piece to it. It's join the shoulders. So I've gone ahead to sew it. I've joined the shoulders. Now I am going to attach the sleeve. So I am going to go ahead and start sewing the sleeve. Join the sleeve from one side to the other. Okay, so I've sewn the sleeve, I've attached the sleeve. So now I'm going to go ahead and join the side, starting from the sleeve. Sew it all the way to the down, all the way down, and also sew this side as well, all the way. Okay, so now that I have sewn the sides, I'm going to be attaching this collar. Okay, look at how I am pinning it. So you're just going to go ahead and open this kimono like so and sew it from one end to the other, starting from here all the way down. Sew it with 1/2 inch all the way down, and also sew this place as well with 1/2 inch all the way down. I've sewn the stole to it. Look at this, and if you look inside, you see that I've given it neat weaving. I've used my overlocking machine to overlock inside to keep it neat, so that you don't have threads pulling out on your clothes. Make your clothes look professional. Okay, and I've ironed it as well. Look at our best sleeve looking so perfect. And as you can see, I have pinned it where I am going to start tacking the press button. Now you have to put it on and then know where to be most comfortable on you. That's where you can start putting your press button. So this is where I feel it's going to be okay for me. So I have pinned it down. So I'm going to start tacking the press button. I want to believe we all know how to tack a press button, but I'm going to tack at least 1 or 2 so that we can see how it is done. Okay, so I'm going to be using this one like this to overlap this one. So this is the press button I'm going to be working with. So this one is going to be the base. So I'm placing it at the center of the stole, as you can see, and I'm going to go ahead and start tacking. Okay, so now that I've tacked this one, I'm going to tack this other one. So I'm tacking this one underneath. So this one, I tack this one on the right side of the stole, and while this one I am tacking it on the wrong side of the stole. So the first set is complete. This is it. Just press it and it is sealed. So I'm going to complete this. I'm going to keep sewing it the same way, and at the end of the day, what you're going to see is this straight line like so. And so guys, for you to spread it out, you can take a measurement of 2 inches apart or 3 inches apart, however you want it, but I'll suggest you do a 2 inches apart so that there will be no opening to show your body or your inner wear. Okay, so 2 inches will be more would be preferable is to be on the safe side. And so guys, we've come to the end of the class. Please don't forget to like this video and also share it if you can, so that this community can grow. And if you're yet to subscribe guys, don't forget to subscribe, and see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye bye.